here today with Charles Darwin, a man known for his groundbreaking work in the field of evolution. I'm here with him today to find out more about his life and the fascinating science of evolution. Let's begin with the basics. When and where were you born?
Good afternoon, Caitlin. I was born on February 12, 1809 at Shropshire, England, a truly wonderful place to grow up.
I'm sure it is. Could you tell me more about your life as you grew up there?
Well, one could argue that I lived the life of a normal child. I was active, I liked sports, I had a large circle of friends, and I have to admit that I had a bit of a foul mouth as a teenager, but many, myself included, beg to differ.
And how is that?
My mother had died of cancer when I was 8 years old. I think that was the year 1817. And my sisters had to raise me all on their own. Plus, my father was a well-known doctor. He had been pushing on me the whole doctor thing since I was born.
Interesting. Do you believe that life in Shropshire has shaped into who you are today?
Most definitely, Miss Kirk. My friends were very close to me throughout my high school years. The large web of friends I weaved for myself helped through the tough times. They were just incredible. They were my support system and defended all of my controversial theories, no matter what.
And you were close to your brother, Erasmus, as well? You went to college with him, right? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Surely. We entered the University of Edinburgh Medical School together, and while he enjoyed the lectures, I found them very boring, to be frank. And I didn't have much of the stomach for those surgeries. Of course, my father was upset as he wanted me to become a doctor, but he kindly sent me to Christ's College in Cambridge for a Bachelor of Arts. I finished up there in 1831 in the top 10% of my class, as a matter of fact.
It only seems natural. So what did you do after you finished up in Cambridge?
It wasn't long after college that I joined the crew of the HMS Beagle, and I voyaged for 5 years. Wherever the ship anchored, I hopped off, collected plant and animal specimens, and added them to my collection. I studied them every moment I could, and I filled notebooks upon notebooks with all my thoughts. I noticed a few things, too.
Could you explain to us what you found?
Of course. I was fascinated that so many animals were able to adapt to their environment and the many ways they survived and produced offspring. And I discovered the struggle of existence, which can be defined as a constant competition between members of each species for food, living space, mates, and other necessities of life. And this is where the famous survival of the fittest aspect comes in. And fitness is not just running a couple of laps around the gym. Fitness is the ability of an individual to survive and reproduce in its specific environment. Fitness can be changed by what I call adaptations.
And can you explain to me what an adaptation is?
An adaptation is simply an inherited characteristic that increases an organism's chance of survival. Successful adaptations enable the organisms to become better suited for their environment and, as a result, are better able to survive and reproduce. These adaptations can range from simple physical changes to complex behavioral changes.
That's absolutely fascinating. I have your book here on the origins of species. Can you explain to me some of the theory of evolution that you've introduced in this?
Of course. In my book, I introduced the idea that populations evolve over the course of generations through a process called natural selection, which is everything I just explained. In natural selection, only certain individuals of a population produce new individuals. The traits being selected that increase over time add to an organism's fitness in its environment. Over time, natural selection results in changes in the inherited characteristics or adaptations of a population.
Wow, that's incredible. So how long do you think evolution has been going on?
Oh, millions and millions of years. Natural selection creates animals that are very different from the ancient animals of long ago. Each living thing we know today is descended, with obvious changes, from other species over time. This is known as descent with modification, and it continues today. A million years from now, many species as we know today will most likely adapt and look completely different.
That's unbelievable. Now, surely you were influenced by people surrounding you when you wrote this book. Am I right?
This is true, Caitlin. If it had not been for the trip on the Beagle, I would not have had nearly enough information to even begin explaining the theory of evolution. My studies in college helped as well because they gave me background knowledge I needed to create these theories. I had also been influenced by a man named Thomas Malthus. Malthus reasoned that if the human population continued to grow without any limits, there would be an insufficient amount of food and living space for everyone.
And how did Malthus' reasoning influence you?
I realized that this applied to even more plants and animals than it did to humans. If all the offspring of an oyster, for example, were to live, our world would eventually be completely covered by oysters. These kinds of examples helped me come up with my theory of evolution.
I would have never thought evolution that way. Well, I think that's all the time we have for today. This is Katie Couric. Stay tuned for more NBC News.